How does someone who's blind go about measuring items and distances? If you're fully sighted, you can just grab a ruler or tape measure, look at the numbers, and there you go. But what about me who's blind? Well, I do use some tools, and yes, they're very familiar, but they're slightly different. The first thing I use is this ruler. Yes, it's your standard 12-inch ruler like any other. The most noticeable difference here is that you have to use your hands instead of your eyes. Every inch from 1 to 12 is labeled in Braille, and every second centimeter from 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. is labeled in Braille. The beginning of each line in centimeters is labeled cm in Braille, and then on the inches side it's labeled INCH in contracted Braille. Not only that, but every single line you see in this ruler is raised as well. You're easily able to tell what a half inch is, what a quarter inch is, because all these lines are different lengths. The second item that I use is this measuring tape. This is a flexible one that tailors use to measure clothing, etc. The tactile markers come in the form of holes in every single inch on the measuring tape. The borders of the holes are raised, so you're easily able to feel them with your fingers. Like I said, every inch is marked with one of these, and every foot is marked with 2 tactile markers. The one thing I don't like is that there are no Braille labels on here. If you happen to know, however, that what you're measuring is over 1 foot or 2 feet, you can just find the 2 markers for each foot and then just count your way inch by inch after that. In case you want to know, this measuring tape goes up to 5 feet in length. The third item that I use is this tape measure. It's like your standard metal tape measure, so no big difference there, but this also has its own tactile markers on it as well. Every 6 inches, there is a tactile marker in the form of a dot to mark every single half foot or foot. But not only that, but every single foot is marked by its corresponding number in Braille. Now, it can be tricky at first because in the same place where you have the Braille, you also have the tactile markers, and you might not realize that this is a number in Braille to begin with. But once you start getting used to it and why it's labeled that way, then you just get used to it very quickly. I do wish there were more tactile markings on there, because if you're measuring something and it falls between those tactile markers of a half a foot and a foot, it might be a little difficult to get a more accurate measurement. At the same time though, I still think it's worth using, especially if you're going to measure something large like room dimensions or just large items like beds, and yeah, I still think it's worth it. So those are pretty much the 3 items that I use to measure distances and items as a blind person.